This first video is just going to show you the basics, the absolute basics of creating an app in XCode. Well, to do that, we're going to open XCode and then start by creating a new XCode project. Make sure you've selected an iOS app, because that's what we'll be working on, and then choose App. Once you've done that, it's asking for the name of the project. I'll just call this First App. The organization identifier, I just put my name. The most important part, though, is that the interface is Swift UI and that the language is Swift. When you hit Next, it's going to ask you where you want to save it. I'm just saving it to the desktop to make it easier to access. There are a lot of files here. So when this says no author information, just hit Cancel. Okay, over here on the left, this is the Navigator panel. This shows you all of your files and such that you have. We will only be working on this content view file. This is a Swift file. We'll only be working on this file in this video. So I'm going to just minimize this Navigator panel for now. To do that, I'm going to click this button up here. That will hide it. If I need to get it back, I just click again. Okay, here is the Swift file itself. So this is the editor. This is where you add code. This panel, it allows you to see what it is you've produced. So if I hit resume, this is going to take a moment to load, but it will load up what your app looks like right now. And you can see right now in the text over here, we should have just a text box that says hello world with some padding. We've got the hello world and it's in some padding. There's another way we can run this too. If you'll notice, this is saying this is an iPod Touch that has loaded up. But if I select this, I can choose a different phone. So if I want to make this an iPhone 11, I can also press play, and the simulator is going to open up instead. That'll allow us to see the app in phone version, if you will. So here's my iPhone 11 simulator that popped up, and give it a moment. It always takes a little while for the first time, but after that it goes a lot quicker. So there's my app. That's what it looks like on the iPhone 11. All right. There are two ways to add things to the editor here, to the screen, if you will. We can type that we want text and put what's in the text, and then we can add some elements to it, like padding. Another way we can do it is by clicking this plus sign up here. You can see all of the widgets that we can add. So I'm just going to add text for now. I'm going to drag this text block over, and you can, where do I want that? Do I want it above or below? I'm going to put it below. And this has placeholder text, so let me just put some information here. Actually, let me resume this so you can see what happens. And I'll stop the simulator. So yeah, usually having one or the other going is best. So this one shows changes instantly, where the simulator, you need to press play, wait for it to refresh. So this one will show things a little bit more on the fly. So this has placeholder text. Now if I click on this text, you can see that new information popped up over here. So this is what we call the inspector panel. You can hide or show it, but I want it to show because it's showing some information here. Like you can change the font. Let's change the font to be title font. And notice what happened in the code. .font, .title. So we're saying, what kind of font do we want it to be? We want it to be a title font. We can change the weight to bold. Font weight is bold. That all shows up here. And we can change the color to be some custom color. Whoops. Right now it's red, but if I choose the custom color, let's say I want it to be this obnoxious purple. And over here you can see that you can change the color this way. There are other ways to change the color. If you want to add more style to it, there's frame, there's padding, you can add a modifier here. So you can scroll down until you find the modifier you're looking for. But to be totally honest, this gets to be a little tedious trying to find what you're looking for. So to do this programmatically, I want to add a background color to this. So I'm going to do dot. It's a little bit different. Notice that for foreground it was dot foreground color, but for background it's just this. I'm going to say I want the color to be pink, and it changes the background to be pink. And you can change that to whatever color you want. Not that yellow is going to be better, but you can change it to whatever you want. So it's a little different for foreground color versus the background color. So for the foreground color, I can just say dot green, and it changes the letters to green. Not sure why they're different for foreground color versus background, but for foreground color, dot green, for background, color dot yellow. Let's see, what else can we do? Well, we could do our own custom font if we wanted to. So dot font, dot custom. I'm going to make mine Comic Sans. Oops. And I want to change the size to be 40 pixels. It didn't show there. I wonder if it'll show on the simulator. Takes it a minute to load up. It didn't change to my custom. I must not be using it the right way. So I'll have to look into that. But that's how you can do it. It did change the size, which is helpful. Okay, let's get a little bit more. Let's do a button, actually. So let's add a button. And I'm going to do that using the plus sign. I'm going to go up here to the top, and I'm going to drag a button. I need to resume this in order to see it because my simulator is running. It didn't add it, so let's try it again. To add a button, let's put it below. There it is. So what I want you to notice is that we have this thing called a V-stack is being put in. A V-stack is just a vertical stack, meaning I want things one on top of the other. You can do an H-stack, which would put everything horizontally, or a V-stack, which would put everything vertically. So notice that I have two V-stacks. One V-stack has the two text, and then the other V-stack put the button outside of it. What I'm going to do actually is move my button inside of the other V-stack so that's all in the same stack. So that means I don't need this outer one, but let me make sure I'm getting rid of the correct curly bracket. Okay, so I just have the one V-stack. I'm going to add something else. I'm going to add a Z-stack. A Z-stack is the third dimension, if you will. And what that's going to allow me to do is, and see what it did, it put it all in a new thing. So I'm going to cut my V-stack out and put it inside of my V-stack. There we go. So now everything is inside of this third layer, if you will. So what this Z-stack is really good for is changing the background color. So if I want to make the background color pink, I can do that. But notice what happens. There's this white area up here. This is called the safe area. And the safe area is like if you're going to have buttons up on the top or things for people to click and you don't want it to have a background color. But if you want the color to go from edge to edge, you're going to say edges, ignoring safe area. Say, I want all edges to ignore the safe area. So in other words, I want the color to go from wall to wall. I don't want any white on the bottom or the top because in this small case, I'm not going to have a navigation menu on the top or the bottom. Okay, I think that's enough for this video. Add some more text, add some more buttons. We're going to talk about buttons and actions. Oh, let me just show you a couple things on buttons. You can do a border. Let's do a black border, and let's make the width 5. So it's not really great, but it's decent for now. We can also put a frame around it, and what a frame does is it adds some depth to it. So we can make, because you can see right now that border is taking up all of the space here. You can't hardly even read the word button. So for my width, I'm going to make it, let's just try 150. I'm going to make my height 75. Let's see how that goes. The text though, so if I put the border around the text, what I really want to do is put the border around the button itself. So I'm going to cut this out and put that here. There we go. That makes it a little bit better. So instead of having the border around the text itself, I put the border around the button. And notice that's kind of big, but it's decent. So if we can change the height if you want, try and change it to maybe 55. You can also change the corners. You can play around with some of those modifiers over here. So after this video, I want to just play around with adding buttons. The button isn't going to do anything yet. That'll be in the next video.